guess.
Start.
All right, we're doing a little slow start today because we had Tot Shabbat, if you didn't notice. We're going to start this morning, and then Rabbi Debbie will do all the intros, but just to warm up, let people wander in. Essa Enai on the bottom of page 70. Essa Enai El Harim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri Essa Enai El Harim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri Me'im Adonai Osei Shamayim Va'aretz Ezri Me'im Adonai Osei Shamayim Va'aretz. One more time. Esainai El Harim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri Esainai El Harim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri Me'im Adonai Osei Shamayim Va'aretz Ezri Me'im Adonai Osei Shamayim Va'aretz.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's nice to see you here, especially on a sunshiny day in January. I live with someone who's deeply impacted by seasonal affectiveness disorder, and when she opened her eyes yesterday morning and crawled into bed with me, my 31-year-old daughter and her dog, she was like, "Do you think we're gonna get the sunrise, Mom?" And it was 7:30, and the sun, it was peeking through the fog. And sure enough, in the next 15 minutes, the fog came in Mount Lake Terrace. We've been socked in for a week, by the way. It's much different than down here, because as soon as you drive through Shoreline, it lifts. And sure enough, the fog rolled in, and we did not get the sunrise. And this morning, virtually the same thing happened, except we had bright sunshine. And my child with SAD says, "Sun, Mom, it's sun." And she went and sat on the couch with the sun shining on her. And I hope that that brings us all a bit of Shabbat joy and adds itself to our service in the form of light in the midst of a dark winter that we've had. So I welcome all of you. Shabbat Shalom. We welcome Jim online. It's good to see you. We can all wave to Jim if we want to, over on that camera over there. Shabbat Shalom, Jim. And we are grateful. We are grateful to be in this space together, and grateful for the land on which we stand and the stewards of the Duwamish people. And we are grateful to all of you for creating community on this Shabbat morning. We continue with Matovu on page 74.
We're going to do verses 1 and 3. Matovu Alecha Yaakov, Alecha Yaakov, Mishkenatecha Yisrael. Matovu Alecha Yaakov, Alecha Yaakov, Mishkenatecha
Continue with the blessing for the body on page 77. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. With divine wisdom, you have made our bodies, please join me, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life, were one of them to fail, how well we are aware we would lack the strength to stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, source of our health and strength. Baruch atah Adonai, rofeh chol basar ma'afli la'asot. And on the next page at the top, Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi, tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. And at the bottom of that page, let's do the chatima, the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai, asher beyado nefesh kol chai, beruach kol basar ish. And on page 80, we come to our Nisim B'chol Yom, our miracles of the day. I have a Ken Shivitz with a question mark. Is that a confirmed?
He's
Great.
here.
Will you
He's
come up
here.
and lead us in the Birchot HaShachar?
As I didn't bring the other sheet with me, I will do the standard, the form that is in the prayer book on page 80, but you are welcome to do any form that you feel comfortable with. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has given the mind the ability to distinguish day from night. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who frees the captive on this weekend. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, rokach haaretz hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who strengthens our steps. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who donates clothes for the naked. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who gives strength to the weary. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hama'avir shina me'enai unuma me'afai. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who made me in the image of God. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made us free. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Shasani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Ozer Yisrael b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Oter Yisrael b'tifara. And for each of us, a special one that is in your heart. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, freedom, freedom, freedom. And then one more on page 86 for the study of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Yesher koach. Thank you. So there is a prayer on page 88 that was in the old Gates of Blue, we used to call it. That was the prayer book we used from like 1970 until this one. It's the one that I became bat mitzvah with the use of. And so we always did this prayer in our service when I was growing up. And I love this list in so many ways. So let's read another list. We just made a list of blessings. Let's do one more list today on page 88 together in English. These are the things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all. A list of some of the core values of Judaism in one place. And we continue on page 94 with Baruch She'amar.
Am I on? Hello. We're going to do Baruch She'amar today, the tune that some of you will be learning, some of you know from if you've been around for a long time. The footnote says that this prayer, part of Sukkah de Zimra, verses of praise, was composed by the rabbis and reflects God's ongoing presence in the ever-renewing creation. The prayer is linked to Genesis 1, where the word comes into being through divine speech, and that's something we're supposed to reflect on Shabbat. But God doesn't then withdraw from creation and let it fend for itself. God nourishes and sustains all life with compassion. Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam, Baruch hu. Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam, Baruch hu. Baruch oseh v'reshit, Baruch omer v'yoseh, Baruch gozer kayem, Baruch merachem al haaretz, Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam, Baruch hu. Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam, Baruch hu. Baruch merachem al habriut, Baruch meshalem sachar tov l're'av, Baruch hai la'ad v'kayam v'lanetzach, Baruch podeh u'motzil Baruch shemo, Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam, Baruch hu. Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam, Baruch hu. Baruch hu. Baruch hu. And let's read the last three lines together in English. With songs of praise we extol you and proclaim your sovereignty, for you are the source of life in the universe. One God, life of the universe, praised and glorious ruler, your name is eternal. Baruch atah Adonai, melech mehulal bat tishbachot.
And we continue with Chatzi Kaddish on page number 106.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei, v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, b'galav yizman kariv, v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach, Le'olam olam me'amaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach v'yishtabach, Yitpar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithaleh, v'yithalal, Shemei d'kudsha brichu, Le'elal min kol berchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechemata, Damiran be'alma, ve'imru amen.
We continue now with Baruch Hu, the next section of our service on page 108. I invite you to rise in either body or spirit.
We've concluded the warm-up part of our service, and now we're ready to tell God that we are prepared to pray as we chant reflexively. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La
as we continue with Yotzer Or on page 110. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Yotzer Or uvoreh choshech, oseh shalom uvoreh et hakol. Hameir la'aretz veladarim aleha berachamim, uvtuvo mechadesh bechol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reshit. Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam bechochma asita, mal'a ha'aretz kinyanecha. Tit barach Adonai Eloheinu, al shevach ma'aseh yadecha, ve'al me'orei or she'asita, yefa'arucha selah. Or chadash al Tzion ta'ir, v'nizkeh chulanu mehera le'oro. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMe'orot. And we continue on page 112.
Ahava rabba avtanu, Adonai Eloheinu, chemla gedola v'tera, chamalta aleinu, ba'avur avotenu, ve'imotenu, shebatchu vecha, avotenu ve'imotenu, vatlamdem chukei chaim, ken techonenu tlamdenu, hamerachem, hamerachem, rachem aleinu, v'ten belibeinu lehavin, lehavin ulhaskil, lishmoa lilmod ulelamed, lishmor velasod, ukayem et kol divrei Talmud Toratecha be'ahava, v'harereinu b'toratecha, v'dahabek libeinu v'mitzvotecha, v'yachet levaveinu le'ahava v'yira et shemecha, v'lo nevosh, v'lo nikalem, v'lo nikashel, le'olam va'ed, ki v'shem kodshecha, Hagadol hanara batachnu, nagila v'nismecha, nagila v'nismecha v'yishuatecha, v'havienu v'shalom, me'arba kanfot haaretz, v'tolichenu kamemiyut, kamemiyut le'artzenu, ki opo yeshuotata, uvanu lacharta, v'kerav-tanu l'shimcha hagadol, Selah, Selah, be'emet, l'hodot lecha, u'yachedcha be'ahava, Baruch Adonai, Abocher B'Amo Yisrael Be'ahava. We turn now to our prayer of attention and intention, most essential words of our faith. I invite you to rise and body your spirit if that is your custom, or to stay in the position you're in if that is your custom, as we join together. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Please be seated. And we continue on page 116. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ela Asher Anochi Mitzavcha Hayom Al Levavecha Veshinantam Levanecha Bedibarta Bam Beshivtecha Bevetecha Uvlechtecha Vaderech Uvshochbecha, uvkumecha, ukshartam leot adadecha, vehayu letotafot bein einecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisha'arecha. Leman tizkeru ba'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'heitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liheyot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. And if you'll give me just a moment of openness here. There have been a lot of conversations with a few people I've been having around learning Hebrew versus learning transliteration, and one of the things that popped in as I thought about the other prayer that we read, all those lists of things that are our values. As a child growing up, we always read this in English. And one of the things I realized is by reading it in English, the core values that are in here were imprinted upon me. And I wonder if only doing it in Hebrew, where many of us don't quite understand all these words, doesn't do the same thing. So give me a little leeway here and let's read it in English together, okay? You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions which we charge you today. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai, your God.
We turn now to page 122 to our song, our prayer of freedom. And on this Martin Luther King Day weekend, I just wanted to add a few words. Hopefully some of you either watched or were at services last night. We had a wonderful tribute to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In Torah study this morning, Rabbi Ruth brought up another person who spoke at the March on Washington. So right before, there was actually a committee of 10 people who organized the March on Washington, and one of them was Rabbi Joachim Prinz, who was a refugee from Nazi Germany, and once he came over to the United States, as soon as the civil rights movement got going, he was involved in it. And he actually spoke right before Martin Luther King spoke, and he gave also a brilliant speech. And you can hear it online at the website in his name. He said he tied his experience of being in the Jewish community in Berlin under the Hitler regime, and he said that bigotry and hatred, he learned, were not the most urgent problem. The most urgent, the most disgraceful, the most shameful, and the most tragic problem is silence. And then he went on to say, America must not become a nation of onlookers. America must not remain silent. So I just wanted to bring that little teaching to you before we sing this prayer, which is actually in our daily prayers, not just weekly or Passover, of freedom that we sang at the shores of the sea when we knew we were free. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, join me chamocha nedar ba'kodesh. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar ba'kodesh. Let's say the blessing together.
at the bottom of the page. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Blessed are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. We turn now to our central prayers of our morning worship, tefillah or Amidah, which means standing, and I invite you to rise in body or spirit as we continue. We'll be praying communally at first, and then I'll let you know when the silent prayer begins. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Geulah Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magin. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol atah rav lehoshia. Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, Mechakel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, Micha mocha bal gevurot, Umido melach, Melech memid, Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'neiman atah l'hachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. 130. Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam, Keshem shemakdishim oto bishmei marom, Kakatuv al yad neviecha, V'karaz elzeh ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Meloch haaretz, Kevodo. Adir, Adirenu Adonai, Adonenu Madir, Shivcha b'chaaretz, Baruch kevod Adonai, Mimkomo. Echad hu Eloheinu, U'avinu hu Malkeinu, U'moshienu vehu yashmienu, Berachamav lenei kol chai. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Yimloch Adonai leolam, Elohai Zion, Ledor vador. Hallelujah. Ledor vador nagid god lecha, Ol netzach netzachim kedushatcha nakdish, V'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush, Leolam va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. We continue with Kedushat Hayom Yismechu on page 132. Yismechu v'malechutecha shomrei 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 Shabbat v'korei onei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha shomrei 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 Shabbat v'korei onei Shabbat. Mekadeshei, Mekadeshei Shvi Shabbat, Kula Am Yisbehu, Veyitangu Metuvecha Shabbat, Yismechu V'malechutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat V'korei onei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei onei Shabbat. V'hashvi ratzita bo v'kidashto Shabbat. Chemdat yamim oto karata Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei onei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei onei Shabbat. Zecher Lemase, Lemase v'reishit Shabbat. Zecher Lemase, Lemase v'reishit Shabbat. Oy, oy, Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei onei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei onei Shabbat. We turn now to silent meditation. Feel free to use the words of the book, pray the words of your heart, or just listen to the silence of your soul. And when you're done, please be seated and we'll join back in together. We're going to close with the words of Eli, Eli, a song, a poem written by Hannah Senesh decades ago. You can find it in your prayer book on page 349. Eli, Eli, shelo yigamer leolam, ha'cho v'hayam, rishru shel ha'mayim, berak ha'shamayim, tefillat Adam, ha'cho v'hayam, rishru shel ha'mayim, berak ha'shamayim, tefillat Adam. My God, I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the water, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart, the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart.
Thank you. I love that. All right, we are going to Seder Kriyat HaTorah. The order of the reading of the Torah is literally what all of that means. We will be on page 244 and 245, and I invite up Sarah Weissman to come and carry Torah for us. And as we open the ark, I invite you to rise as well.
We're going to start on 246 and 248. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, ki mitzion tetzei Torah, u'davar Adonai miRushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Lo Yisagoy and Romemu. Lo Yisagoy el goy cherev, 249. Lo Yimedu od milchama. Lo Yisagoy el goy cherev, Lo Yimedu od milchama. Lo Yisagoy el goy cherev, Lo Yimedu od milchama. Lo Yisagoy el goy cherev, Lo Yimedu od milchama. Lo Yisagoy el goy cherev, Lo Yimedu od milchama. Lo Yisagoy el goy cherev, Lo Yimedu od milchama. kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu.
Hang on. Okay. We did not roll this morning, so give us 1 second. We're gonna have to roll a little bit here. What are you starting with? What are your words? Nine, 3, okay. Yeah, so it's ve'ata. Yes, please, would you? Ve'ata hine tza'aka.
All right, well, we're going through the ritual of finding the place in the Torah, very important ritual. I'm going to give you the page numbers and throw a lot of pages and numbers at you. The blessings are on 250 in your prayer book. The Torah portion that Shelley will chant for us will be Exodus chapter 3, verses 9 through 15. In the old Plout, the one with the simpler cover, that is on page 399 to 400. And in the new Plout, the one with the more decorative cover and the verse numbers in numerals, is on begins on page 352. So old Plout 399, new Plout 352. Oh, verses again are Exodus 3, chapter 3, verses 9 through 15. Chapter 3, verses 9 through 15.
All right. I'd like to invite Stephen Snyder up. Ya'amdu Moshe Hezkel ben Natan David veheni Michal la'aliyah laTorah.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Do you want me to say something first? Okay. So before I start chanting, I just have a few words to say about this. So this is Parshat Shemot, which means names. And that comes from the very beginning of the Parsha, where it details the names of the Israelites who went down to Egypt. But I was also paying close attention to the names in this chunk of text, which I chose because this is the part where Moses says, you know, when I go tell the people that God sent me, who are you? What should I tell them your name is? And God says, Ehyeh asher ehyeh, which is translated as I will be what I will be, but that's, you know, like, is that really what it means? It's also translated as I am that I am, yeah. And tell them Ehyeh sent you, which is a little weird. A couple other things I noticed, though, is that through most of the verses that I'm going to chant, we don't hear the word Adonai till almost the last of it. The word for God that's used is Elohim, and I think a lot of Exodus, it's a little of both. So I thought that was interesting, and then I did not clue in on this until a conversation that I was having earlier this week, and yes, it was a pretty nerdy conversation, that down near the end of what I'm chanting, God says, tell the Israelites, I am God of your ancestors, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. This is my name forever. And that is actually the beginning of how we address God in the Amidah. So lots of stuff about names in this portion. Okay, without further ado. Amen ve'ata hine tza'akat b'nei Israel ba'a elai v'gam ra'iti et halachatz asher Mitzrayim lochatzim otam ve'ata lecha ve'eshlachacha el paro והוצא את עמי בני ישראל ממצרים. ויאמר משה אל האלוהים מי אנוכי כי אלך אל פרעה וכי אוציא את בני ישראל ממצרים. ויאמר כי אהיה עמך, וזה לך האות, כי אנוכי שלחתיך, בהוציאך את העם ממצרים, תעבדון את האלוהים על ההר הזה. ויאמר משה אל האלוהים, הנה אנוכי בא אל בני ישראל, ואמרתי להם, אלוהי אבותיכם שלחני עליכם, ואמרו לי מה שמו, מה אומר עליהם. ויאמר אלוהים אל משה, אהיה אשר אהיה. ויאמר כה תאמר לבני ישראל, אהיה שלחני עליכם. ויאמר אלוהים אל משה, כה תאמר אל בני ישראל, אדוני אלוהי אבותיכם, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק, ואלוהי יעקב שלחני עליכם. זה שמי לעולם, וזה זכרי לדור דור. Okay, we're going to do that again. And now see, the outcry of the children of Israel has come to me, and also I have seen the oppression that the Egyptians are placing on them. So now go, that I may send you to Pharaoh, and you will bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. And Moses said to God, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh, and that I should bring the children of Israel out of Egypt? And God says that because I will be with you, and this is your sign, that it is I who have sent you. And when you bring the people out of Egypt, you shall worship God on this mountain. And Moses says to God, when I go to the children of Israel, and I say to them, God of your ancestors sent me to you. And they say to me, what is God's name? What do I say to them? And God God said to Moses, Sher, and God says, and God says, thus you shall say to the children of Israel, sent me to you. And further, God says to Moses, this you shall say to the children of Israel, Adonai, the God of your ancestors, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob, sent me to you. This is my name forever, and this is how I shall be remembered from generation to generation. Woo. Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
And with the Torah still open, we take time to call out a blessing for those in need of healing. And I think that this is the most appropriate time to read something that has been floating around my internet since the announcement of the hostage deal. And it was written by, hang on one second, let me just grab it really fast. Where did it go? It was written by a rabbi, and so many of us, I know, myself included, am very conflicted because, as he puts it, this is Rabbi Adam Kligfeld who said, the deal is complicated and excruciating. The math is abhorrent and morally perverse. The consequences long-term are hard to divine and could be catastrophic. Witness Yanwar Sadat is one of the over 1,000 prisoners, many with blood on their hands, who were released in exchange for Gilad Shalit. But beyond all of that wrenching complexity, can we just imagine, if those red-headed babies, the Bilbis children, are returned alive to Israel on Sunday? How could that not be Hallel worthy? Redemption is never perfect. I loved this line. Redemption is never perfect nor complete. There's always more work to do. And he said, Baruch Matir Asurim. So I am holding all of those hostages who are still alive right now and praying that tomorrow is the day that we will see their faces and the joy on their families as they are returned, God willing, home tomorrow. And they will have a long, heavy road, those that are alive. They will need our Mishiberach for months, possibly years to come. And we add all of those names to the names that we call out now for a blessing of healing. If you have someone you are thinking of who needs a blessing for healing, please include their names out loud now.
Oh, Misha Berach, this is the Taubman version. Hopefully we'll have a word slide. It's not exactly the same in our prayer book. Misha Berach, Avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, Hu Yivarech, V'yirapeh et hacholim. Misha Berach, Avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, Hu Yivarech, V'yirapeh et hacholim. Elna Rifan Allah, Elna Rifan Allah, Elna Rifan Allah, Elna Rifan Allah. Misha Berach, Avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, Hu Yivarech, V'yirapeh et hacholim. Hu Yivarech, V'yirapeh et hacholim.
Bassi family up to do Hagba and Glila together.
We
Pardon my
rise in
insolent
body or
voice.
spirit. On the bottom of page 252. V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei b'nei Yisrael al pi Adonai v'yad Moshe. Torah, 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 Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Torah tziva lanu Moshe.
All right, and it is time for the Haftarah. And I'd like to invite Stephanie Levine up for Haftarah blessings and Ava Levine to do the Haftarah verses. We are reading from the book of Isaiah, chapter 27. We'll be in the new on page 37 and the classic on page 692. So the new one, Stephanie, I'm going to invite you to come down here.
Or are you going to be up there or down?
I'm going to invite them to be down here. Yeah. So it will be on
Right here is fine. Be sure to speak right.
blessings are in 254, the new plow 375, and the old one 692.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'ratza v'direhem hane'emarim be'emet האמת והצדק.
Reading the Haftarah, starting with verse 6, chapter 27. Jacob shall come to take root, Israel shall blossom and bloom. They shall fill the earth with fruit, like a medlar when it sends forth runners. Did God strike Israel down like others who were struck? Was Israel slain as God slew the slayers? God contended with them, sending them off with a hot blast, as on the day the east wind comes. See, now thus shall Jacob's sins be atoned, and this will be the result of removing its guilt, when they grind all their altar stones into powdered limestone, when none of the sacred posts and the incense altars are left standing. The fortified cities is empty, its homes deserted, forsaken like the wilderness. There calves graze, and there lie down, and consume the branches of the trees. When the crown withers, they crack. Women come and use them to kindle fires. Since this people has no understanding, their Maker will show them no pity. Their Creator will show them no mercy. But there will come a day when from the river Euphrates to Egypt's Nile, God will beat out the people like grain, and you will be picked up one by one, O people of Israel. And on that day, a great shofar shall be sounded. Those lost in Assyria, those banished in Egypt shall come back and worship the Eternal on the holy mountain in Jerusalem.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzor kol halomim tzadik bechol hadorot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer ve'oseh ha'medaber u'mekayem shekol devarav emet v'tzedek Al ha-Torah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al handim ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha v'limnucha lekavod u'tifaret Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach uvarchim otach yitbarak shimcha b'fi kol chai tamid leolam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh hashabbat.
Yeshar Kuchen. And we rise together as we return the Torah to the Ark on page 254.
256 at the bottom.
256 at the bottom.
Es chaim hi lamachazikim ba v'tom heha meushar dracheha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha Shalom, Hashivenu Adonai, Elecha v'nashuva, Achadesh Yameinu kekedem, Chadesh Yameinu.
Please be seated as we invite. Thank you so much. Yeshar Kuchen too. Kuchen. We invite Carl up for some wonderful words of wisdom on our parasha today.
Well, a lot happens in our portion, but I'm going straight to Exodus 3:1, which, by a miracle of God, is what Shelley chanted. And what's more, I think my commentary will sound something like an elaboration of Shelley's too short commentary, but you know, you can't say too much about these lines. So Exodus 3:1 starts something like this. Now Moses, tending the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian, drove the flock into the wilderness and came to Mount Horeb. That's how Exodus 3 begins. Looking back on how we got there, let me remind you that Moses had been a shepherd in Midian for a long time. I imagine him as having been happy there. The distant past, his years as a prince of Egypt, his indignation over slavery, his growing identification with the Israelites in bondage, his moment of rebellion, which the Israelites rejected. All that was 40 years ago and must now seem to Moses like a dream as he tends his flocks from day to day. He has married, he has a son. His father-in-law Jethro is a well-regarded priest. There is no more guilt. He isn't a prince anymore when others are slaves, but he feels like a stranger in the world. He's never seen Canaan, and neither Midian nor Egypt has ever really felt like home to him. He names his son Gershom, which means stranger. But a world that feels strange, where we can't really fit, may still feel beautiful and holy. So one day, when tending the flocks, Moses comes to Mount Horeb, which is also called Mount Sinai, God's mountain, it turns out. And he sees something, a bush that's burning. Now, it's not strange that a bush should burn. In this past week, thanks to tragic but meaningful patterns in the universe, we've thought too much about burning greenery. We've been haunted, maybe tormented by images of bushes, trees, and fires, horrible fires. But as Moses gazes at the bush on Mount Sinai, he notices something strange. It's burning, yes, but it's not being consumed. I must look at this, Moses says, I'm quoting again. I must look at this. Why doesn't the bush burn up? And when God saw that Moses had turned aside to look, he called out of the bush, Moses, Moses. And Moses answered, Here I am. And God said, Do not come closer. Remove your sandals, for the place on which you stand is holy ground. We have the word epiphany, which means divine manifestation, a showing forth of the sacred. And epiphanies often start like this one on Mount Sinai. You see something, some small but very strange thing, and that small thing transports you to a new kind of reality, to holy ground, so to say, in which, on which, you feel almost anything is possible. So maybe, like Abraham, you see three men, and something about their look suggests that they are more than men. Or maybe, as happens to Jacob, a dream becomes so vivid that it seems like reality, not a dream, reality, and its atmosphere lingers, and you're still in it when you wake up. Or maybe, as happens to Moses, you sense the holiness of a landscape and see a bush burning very brightly, but not perishing in the flames. It's subtle. You have to watch for a while, or you won't ever notice. God speaks to Moses from the bush. God says, I am the God of your ancestors, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Do you see why God speaks of the ancestors? Let me say first that probably lots of us have experienced what I would call epiphanies, a sense that something is holy. It may be a landscape, the sound of a bird, maybe the face of a child, or the moon on the horizon. And what you see is perhaps a bit odd. The moon is very large, for example, larger than we expect, larger somehow than the moon has any right to be. Or the sound of the bird is more musical than it should be. Or the face of the child really does look like an angel's face, and we feel ourselves suddenly in a strange world that seems about to become miraculous. Well, it never does, at least not in my experience anyhow, but it feels as if it could. That's an epiphany, a sacred presence that makes the world tremble. All the rules that confine the world, they start to lose their grip. So Moses sees a bush that is burning a bit too brightly, and which isn't being consumed as he'd expect. Something sacred is here, he says. But the sacred presence of whom? The sacred presence of what? Not just the bush, but something else that's calling through the bush. Who should we say? Who should we say is calling? What should we say? The voice says to Moses, I am the God of your ancestors, God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. In other words, I and your people have had a long history together. And this experience you're having now, this strange and sacred experience, it's not just a one-off, a curious but probably forgettable thing not connected to any past or future. No, it belongs to a history, an encompassing history that matters. This moment, God is telling Moses, this moment belongs to the stories your nursemaid used to tell you about distant times and places. You, Moses, thought those stories were fairy tales because they had nothing to do with your life in Egypt and Midian, and the God of those stories didn't manifest to you as they manifested in the story, hadn't shown himself for 400 years. But all those stories, God is saying, All those stories God is saying were about me, the presence you feel in the bush, and about all of us, all Israelites together. This hill, this bush continues. It continues. This hill, this bush continues. This moment continues. What you thought were mere fairy tales for children. As I say, I think most of us experience epiphanies, whatever we like to call them. Yesterday morning, I looked down from the ridge, and the lake was filled with clouds, but I could see over the lake. I could see over the clouds from the ridge. I saw the sun, the clear blue sky. There was no voice from above, no miracle, but still it was an epiphany. And Torah helps us weave these moments of ours into stories that matter. Finally, all the world's sacred stories, and may that always be for good. In Exodus 3:6, we read that Moses hides his face because he's afraid to see too much of God. The presence of God, if it gets too close, makes everything burn up. That's the thematic question of Exodus. How can God reach us when God's presence makes everything burn up? That's the problem to which Torah is a solution. We can get closer than we think. That's why Moses sees a bush that burns but isn't consumed. The very fact that we're here telling the story, that Jews everywhere are telling it this very morning, that religious people in half the world keep telling it, that shows that the bush still burns, but it's not consumed. It survives. There was a bit of good news in the Middle East this week. There was a bit of good news, and it's connected with Martin Luther King Day, which we celebrate this weekend, and with all our dreams, that a better world, a more sacred world, may emerge from all the suffering in the Middle East month after month, is of course our hope. So God says to Moses, "Behold, the outcry of the children of Israel has come to me, and I have also seen the oppression with which the Egyptians oppress them. And now go to Pharaoh, we'll take our people out from Egypt." The sacred presence on the mountain, the God of all the old stories, is also connected with freedom. Platonists say that God is freedom. On Passover, we drink 4 glasses of wine because God promises to free us 4 times. We drink 4 glasses and toast the God who sets us free. Our freedom, human freedom, is God's image in us, and we think about that this weekend. But Moses asks God, "What is your name?" The Israelites will want to know your name. None of us know your real name. In the old stories, you know, Jacob wrestled with God and asks for God's real name, but God withholds it. The people won't trust you, Moses says, if you keep withholding your name. My name, God replies, is Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh. I shall be as I shall be. If people ask my name, says God to Moses, tell them, I shall be is here with them. But of course, the verbs in ancient Hebrew function strangely. I gave you the stone translation, but the name can also be translated, I am that I am, or I will be as I am, or I am as I will be. And these variations suggest many things. They suggest that God is a being in time, but God is also being itself. And God is also time itself. And God is finally the transcendence of time and being. And this time transcendence, well, it's the theme of relativity physics in a way, but it's also the theme of the Exodus stories, especially the story of the plague. What's striking, as the story unfolds, is not so much that there are plagues in Egypt, but that Moses announces what's coming days, hours, minutes before it happens. Now, foreseeing what will come in 1,000 years is impressive in retrospect. But foreseeing what will come in a minute, in an hour, foreseeing, for example, that strange beasts will come or depart in an hour, that uncanny darkness will come or depart in an hour, that tragically firstborn children will die this very evening, that's in a way more impressive than prophecies about the end of days. Because if you prophesy about the next minute, you could be confuted almost instantaneously. Moses, in other words, is always just a bit ahead of the present moment because as God comes close, Moses remembers the future, so to say. He remembers the immediate future. He remembers the immediate future as a person might remember the past. My name, God tells Moses, is Ehyeh, the one who is and will be. That's my name forever, God immediately adds, thereby claiming to encompass all time. At a still deeper level, God is telling Moses that his real name means, what I am for myself. What I am for myself. If you, Moses, try to see all I am, the light that now shines brightly will burn you up and undo you. No, God says to Moses, you can't know me, but you can trust me before you know me. And if you doubt, God says to Moses, that you yourself can do what I ask you to do, if you doubt it because you were never more than a prince and now you're just a shepherd, and in addition you have a stutter and you stumble over words, then you should know, Moses, just as my name suggests to you, that I'm already there in the future, just as I'm still in the past. And I've watched you do what you're going to do from the day I created the world, and I'll be watching when world history ends. And speaking for myself, let me tell you, I believe this. I believe this. I think when God made the world, sorting out the Big Bang, and getting the four forces to balance, when God managed that, God encompassed the past and future. Otherwise, God couldn't have done it. And God saw all the pain, including God's own terrible pain, and God still decided to do it. God likes fruitfulness, physical and spiritual, you see. And that, more than anything, gives me hope, great hope, in these strange and dangerous times. Shabbat Shalom.
I knew it would be words of wisdom. Thank you.
282, I invite you to rise in body or spirit. We're on the top of the page. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'ateit gerula liotzer breshit, shehu notei shamayim v'yosed aretz, u'moshav yakaro b'shamayim mimal, u'shchinatu zo begovhei meromim, u'Eloheinu einod, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. 287, v'ne'emar, v'haya Adonai, l'melech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
Please be seated. And as the rabbis have decreed, every time we gather for prayer, we bring forward into this space those who are no longer with us, those who we carry with us in many good and sometimes not so great ways, but those who have impacted our lives. And we call out their names and bring them into this space. We are in a period of Shloshim for Wilbur Irvine Hoff, the father of Rebecca Hoff, Christine Castillo, and Mark Hoff, also the father of Jennifer Skolowski, the grandfather of Ilana Boyer. We are observing the yard sites of Bernard Agres, Jane Allen, Robert Berman, Jerry Bishop, Arthur Dom, Antonio Di Domenico, Harold Elner, Miriam Friedman, Juliet Fagazi, Robert Goldman, Pedatsur Hachman, Milton Hamalski, Virginia Hamalski, Rebecca Harris, Anne Hartley, Charles Hoffman, Eleanor Kaufman, Harry Kernis, Armand Leilabert, Asher Levine, Seymour Levy, Joanne Lohr, Carola Michael, Chris Muller, Barbara Peltz, Rose Peretz, Elsie Polio, Harry Robinson, Sam Rousseau, Solly Rubenstein, Willie Schemel, Harold Siegel, Alvin Sion, Isaac Stein, Mary Wagner, and Gerald Weinstein. If I've mispronounced someone's name, please correct them at this time and add to those names those loved ones that you are thinking of today.
Leon Katz, my grandson.
And to all those names, we also include those in our hearts as we invite those who are observing Shloshim to rise at this time. Those who might be observing a yard site at this time, or someone who has died in the past year. And we invite them to do so we can identify them and comfort them later. And I invite all who would like to join in solidarity rise at this time as we continue with Kaddish Yatom on page 294. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma dira chirute v'yamlich malchute. B'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'olam o'almei almaya. Yit barach v'ish tabach v'yit par v'yit romam v'yit naseh. V'yit hadar v'yit aleh v'yit halal shemed kudusha brichu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shamaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, and to all together we say, amen. Please be seated. I want a big shout out of thanks to Ronnie as our shamash today, and to Jamie, who's helped us technologically, and to all of you who participated in services today. It really lends a sense of community, and we are grateful to your wisdom and your learning and your teaching and your prayers and blessings that you added. Diana, thank you, thank you. I know it was a little last minute ask, but I knew you were up to the task.
Oh, thank you, Rabbi.
Absolutely. One announcement, next week we have a learners minyan. It'll be the launch for our BET group in our 6th grade cohort. So there will be some 6th grade families here as well. If you haven't signed up for a part in services coming up, we have minyaning going all the way through to the middle of March, except for one service, which is the adult B mitzvah on March 1st. So please sign up. If you want help with your Torah, I am happy to make you a recording and meet with you to go over it. So please, I encourage you, this is a great time to step up, even if it's just 3 verses of Torah, and you don't have to do the English the way that Shelley did so amazingly, right? You can read that if you'd like.
It's a high bar that not everyone is expected to achieve.
Don't be intimidated by that. And I see at least 2 of my B Mitzvah students of the adult variety, and then a couple, although they're not in the room right now, of the 13-year-old variety. My hope is that you too will step up and sign up to read Torah again. And there are also service parts. As you saw, there were many service parts. We send out a sign up for that. If you are not on that sign up sheet, tell Diana at the end of services or during lunch so that she can add you to the list. Okay? What else did I miss? Anything?
Do you want to do gratitude for the land? Gratitude for the land?
So I did it at the beginning a little bit.
Oh, you did?
I did, yeah. Okay, good. All right, so let us join.
Sarah?
Yes.
Oh, Mazel Tov.
Mazel
Sarah and
tov.
Derek are engaged. Mazel Tov. Oh, I'm so happy. Oh, I'm going to cry.
She's verklempt. Maybe I should talk instead. We continue with Kiddush. Any other simchas really fast? Great. For those of you that did not hear online, Sarah, and I totally forgot your name, I'm sorry. Darren? Derek and Sarah Nichols became engaged this week, so we're super excited about that. Oh, you have one too. Mazel tov.
Oh, thank you. Jonathan's father is 94.
Great. All right. Yeah. Although they're all outside. If you're becoming B mitzvah in any time in the next year, come on up. Oh, good. So you can give it to one of the kids.
We're going to start with Vishamru on page 300, and it's great to have representatives of both the kiddo B mitzvah and the adult B mitzvah classes up here.
Please join with me on 300, and then we'll just go right into the wine blessing and the bread blessing. Excuse me. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam brit olam, beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam, beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam, ki sheshet yamim.
Hey, Morty, come on up.
Asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz uvayom hashvihi shavat vayi nafash uvayom hashvihi Shabbat vayi nafash. You can hold that wine cup up really high. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen l'chaim.
All right, I invite everybody to rise. And whatever your level of comfort is, whether arms around each other or holding elbows, however you want to do it. Morty, you want to help hold on to
Let's
it?
close this blessing circle.
Wait, we need
Baruch
William.
atah
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon. Go for it. Yep, grab a big old hug. Shabbat
There
shalom,
is
everyone.
lunch is served in the social hall, I think. Even if you didn't bring anything, everyone is invited.